I don't see that new person that's going to be the AAB person.
She's in the waiting room
Not
right
letting
now.
them in until we're streaming.
Oh, got it. Okay. What's her name? Do y'all know?
I don't. Just Cynthia might know. Johnny didn't know to tell me, so Cynthia worked
New
it out for her.
person that's going to be the AAB person.
Kim Nakan Tobin.
Okay.
This is so hilarious. And I'm only getting one.
So she's not on yet, right?
She is waiting in the waiting room. She's not been admitted to the meeting. Once the
Okay, well,
meeting,
let me.
once the meeting gets all up and running and it's being sent to YouTube, we'll let her in.
Okay, well,
Okay,
hold
but I
on
don't,
a second.
I think it's being recorded even as we speak. Right, Jacinta? We're just making sure the link, verifying the link. In other words, I don't think we ought to have a whole bunch more discussion that we think is
Right.
private.
So once you see on the top of your screen on YouTube, it's actually on there. And then the process starts on YouTube, and then I'm just sending
Just throw this away.
It says
the
it's
link
now
to
streaming
Tracy.
live.
Into the toilet paper anyway.
Yeah, so once you see YouTube, I'm gonna mute whoever's talking, but once you see that it says YouTube, then we're streaming.
Yeah, where's the oh, that's the trash. I'm gonna go get another.
All right, it says it's now streaming live
Okay.
on
Yep.
YouTube.
And we're just waiting for Tracy to verify the link on our website because we have to have that up and posted for the public before we can start the meeting.
I'm sorry, I was responding and I was muted. You guys are good to go.
Okay, Ms. Gay, you can start.
Ooh, hang on, I gotta mute my new phone. Well. All right, the meeting is now called to order on March 11th, 2026 at 3:14 p.m. Let me find my agenda. The first thing is to identify the participants. I'm Gay Brunson. I am the CLP chair. I represent administration. If y'all would just go around and introduce yourselves. Ooh.
I'm Michelle Emiston. I am, I represent administration.
Okay.
Madeline Rito, I represent MLT Education.
All right.
Jessica Lassiter, I'm MLS 4-year education.
I'm Belinda Carmen. I represent the generalists.
Okay.
I'm Tabitha Whip, and I represent the MLTs.
Okay.
Can y'all hear me? This is Angela.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm Angela, and I represent. I'm in the educative, one of the educative positions.
Okay. And Melissa?
Sorry, I couldn't tell which order I was in. I'm Melissa Hamilton. I represent the cytology.
I'm Patsy Jarrow with the board.
Ms. Wilton, do we have to identify non-members or just the members? No, that's not necessary. Identifying the members is fine. Okay. Public comments for this meeting can be made by email at publiccomment@lsbme.la.gov. Dr. Van is monitoring that and will notify us when public comments come in. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Y'all should have access to it on the link that was sent to us. If not, they are displayed right here. Has everyone already?
I believe there were two um,
Two sets.
sets
There was
of
a December and
minutes.
an October.
Yes, okay.
Does anybody have any comments on the minutes from the October meeting? If there are no changes or comments, I would invite a motion and second to approve those minutes as we have them.
I motion to approve the minutes. Tabitha?
Okay.
Second, Nadlin.
We have a motion and second for the October minutes to be approved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next minutes we have are from our December meeting. Is there any comments regarding this? That was a real quick meeting. We met to approve the CEU contract. If no comments or changes, I would invite a motion and second for the December minutes.
I motion to accept the minutes. It's Tabitha.
Thank you. And second?
I second, Michelle.
And Michelle. All those in favor of accepting the minutes from our December 9th, 2025 meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All righty. Go back to my minutes. The next topic on the agenda is contact information update. There was a spreadsheet included in our packet that had the members listed and their email addresses. Did everyone review that? If it's not right, please send an email to both Patsy and Jacinta. Was everybody good? Was anybody bad? Patsy, do you need anything else from
No.
on this topic?
No, I just want to make sure I have good phone numbers and good emails.
All right, the phone numbers are not listed on this document.
They're not.
But if we need to,
Is that the one I sent to, oh, that's the one that goes to the Senate. I don't think they asked for phone numbers,
okay.
so that's okay.
Yeah, we don't want them calling us.
No, we don't. So that's fine.
Yep. All righty. The next topic on the agenda is legislative update. Dr. Van, what's going on in regard to us for the legislative?
All right, your bill that's been approved and modified and approved again is in the hands of Representative Butler. I met with her this morning. It will be it'll probably go on the record tomorrow morning, she tells me. And she's supporting everything we've asked her to do, and she's going to take care of it for us. She is the vice chairman of Health and Welfare, so I think we have a good chance that it's going to get approved.
Okay. Are there any other bills or anything out there that affect our profession?
At this point in time, I haven't seen any, but they're still adding bills. Okay.
Do we have a
Alright.
number yet for it or anything?
No, we don't have a number because it hasn't gone through the process, and that's going to
Okay.
appear with a number tomorrow.
Okay,
Maybe tonight, but for sure tomorrow she don't.
gotcha. Okay.
All right. The next topic we had discussed a couple last meeting or the one before, the high school equivalency for non-approved diplomas. I believe Ms. Wilton and Patsy and maybe others are all going to get together and kind of have a check-off list for these non-approved diplomas.
Right. And unfortunately, totally 100% due to me, we did not get to have that meeting. Not because Patsy didn't try. I promise you that. I just could not make it happen. However,
That's
I will
okay.
update you on what I think a checklist / rubric should look like. And then I promise you I will put it in writing and send it to Patsy for her approval. In essence, as you recall, what we're trying to do is define for ourselves what high school equivalency is going to look like. If the person has a true high school diploma from a school, a public school or a recognized private school in any state, or if they have a GED, or if they have a BESI approved homeschool diploma, then that's all fine. What we're talking about is trying to decide what is equivalent when you don't have any of that and you have some of these unstructured, completely unmonitored, unsupervised, unstructured, unregistered, whatever, quote unquote diplomas that either come from commercial homeschool programs or parents who are by law allowed to say, my child graduated from my home school and therefore they're a high school graduate. We, because of our requirement to protect the public and make sure that laboratory assistants are qualified to do the job, we have to come up with what we consider or would routinely accept as a high school equivalent. And so my research indicates that basically we're going to ask for a copy of a diploma or other issued proof of completion of study. If that's the daddy writes a letter and says, my girl was homeschooled from age 5 to age 17, and therefore I certify that she has completed a homeschooling high school education curriculum or whatever, we just need a piece of paper, somebody, or whether it's a, purchased off the website and they print it out from their commercial homeschool deal or whatever. We need that certification, that diploma, that assertion of completion of a period of study. Then the nuts and bolts of it are, we need documentation of instructional days per year, and roughly that's going to be about 180 days per year. If you look across the country, but particularly in our contiguous states and Louisiana, to roughly approximate a traditional high school education, you're going to need about 180 days a year. So they need to tell us how many instructional days they had per year for what they're calling their high school education. And then we have to look at a base minimum of credit hours. And basically what we're looking at is how many units of study are you asserting that you completed that is curriculum based, whatever your curriculum might be, whether you made it up or you got it off the internet or what have you. The minimum that I've seen across the country is 22 hours. So we would want documentation of 22 credit hours of curriculum-based education. And we ideally are looking those to be what they call the SMART core, 22 curriculum hours in what the basic fundamentals of education. And we have a list of what those generally are. In lieu of, or in addition to that, we should also be prepared to accept things that document that the person has the base knowledge, whether or not they have attended a printed out curriculum or what have you. And these are things like ACT scores. In other words, if they went to college or tried to go to college and they took the ACT to do that, well, that demonstrates fundamental knowledge. That's equivalent to a high school education. College entrance exams are the same kind of thing. If they applied to a college that requires an entrance exam and they were satisfactory at completion of that, that is additional documentation that this person has the core fundamental knowledge that we would be willing to accept and consider as a high school equivalency education. And the last one is something that's a little more, it gives us some wiggle room if we would need it. It gives the applicant some wiggle room if they would need it. It doesn't translate as well in your industry and field as it does in some other traditional vocations, but there is a concept called work experience equivalency. So if, and y'all would have to tell me what that would be, but if someone demonstrates an experiential pattern of transferable skills that would serve as a foundation to show, hey, maybe this person didn't go through traditional schooling, but the things they have done in life prepare them to do the necessary elements of this job. We can consider those, particularly if they're weak in one area or not so strong in another area. If they have demonstrable experience and transferable skills that would relate to the ability to do this job, that's something they can add on for us, I think, as a bonus that can help us determine whether they have the high school equivalency. But really, at the end of the day, we're not talking about high school substitute. We're not talking about what this family or parent or commercial program just thinks is good enough. We're talking about what looks like a traditional high school education, and it is equivalent to that. And that's where we get the SMART core, the 22 credit hours, and the instructional hours. So if y'all are satisfied just generally with that as a concept, I promise you the next thing I will do on my list is write that up for you, send it to Patsy, make sure she's in agreement, and then we'll start to use that as a general guideline, but we'll bring it back to you to formally approve that as the committee's recommendation.
All right, exactly where is the document or the form or the checklist you develop? Where in the applicant approval is that used? Is that by the
that would be licensing.
So the licensing analyst or who would be looking at this?
Correct. Because they're checking off of their list. Does this person have a high school diploma? No, they don't. Okay, well, do they have a high school equivalency like a GED, something that the state already recognizes as an HSE? No, they don't. Okay, now we've got non-diploma, non-traditional, non-approved person who nonetheless says, I was homeschooled and my dad gave me a graduation ceremony and I got my high school education. Then we ask for these elements, proof of these elements, to document that the knowledge that they gained for this is comparable to a traditional high school education.
All righty.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions or comments about that? Is this something we need to vote on?
Wait and vote on it until we bring it back in the actual, that you actually see. This is what it's going to look like, but let me get it down on paper, get Patsy to say that she's in agreement with it, maybe even Claudette, who works with a lot of these non-diploma candidates, the analyst, and then we'll bring it back to you to formally approve that that's what you recommend to the board as being your policy within clinical lab personnel for what constitutes high school equivalency.
All right, sounds good. I just got an email from Dr. Ogden. No, never mind. That's AI trying to get me to subscribe to what Dr. Ogden used. All right, next topic is number 6, website update. Patsy, I think the first thing you were going to talk about was when people go to verify the license of a specialist, that the verification will specify what category designation they hold.
Right, but it's not completely worked out, so I need to talk to Tracy more about it.
Okay.
Somehow we're going to have to figure out who puts that in and where. Like where in the documents that like when I approve things, I could do that. I just don't know how that's going to work. But we've got the list of all the specialties and I think we're good there. And we just need to be able to enter it into that person's record. And so that when the verification comes up, it says specialist, and then it'll say in what category. Does that make sense, Tracy?
It does. It is going to require our database developers to get involved and get that done.
Okay.
But it'll be listed as a specialty once we
Yes.
get that figured out.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. And then the next item under here was uploading documents during the application process.
Yeah, I'll address that if you have a question about it. Can you hear me?
Well, yes, sir. It's just on our agenda.
Yeah, basically, you are going to be the second group that moves to the front load process, where all of the documents we normally ask for, including how we're going to handle the documents for the rubric for the high school equivalency, will be loaded up as PDF files as part of the application process. And some of those will not be all the ones we normally do. We will try to minimize based upon the certification agency's requirements, so that if they're BOC ASCP, they won't have to necessarily give us certain documents that other people might have to that are not BOC ASCP certified, because the agency verifies that, and there's no point in not accepting their verification. Okay, so that's where we're going to be tuning this up. But ultimately, we'll be asking for PDF files, and they will be loaded up in each individual section. When it asks where you went to school, please show us your diploma. You can scan it, they can load up to scan up the copy of your diploma and put it in. And any other document that we need, the only document that we will not get, or any information we will not get in the original application, initial application, I should say, forgive me, is the criminal background check. But we will be programming the computer so that if you pay for you complete the process, you won't be able to complete it till our checksum tells you everything is done, and then you pay, and then the computer will automatically send back an email to the email address they give us that says, you've paid, we need your criminal background check, take this paper to, and they have the instructions on how to get the criminal background check. And I can tell you that thanks to the work of the state police and working with the FBI, the criminal background checks from the time they are paid for at IDEMA are taking right now 2 to 5 days. So that will not be a delay.
And is it uploaded directly from that company?
What, IDEMA?
The criminal background check.
What happens with the criminal background check is this. They get the fingerprints. IDEMA verifies the fingerprints that they're acceptable, and then sends them, excuse me, 1 second. Then they get the fingerprints. IDEMA verifies that they're acceptable, and IDEMA's computer transmits to the FBI computer. If the FBI computer has no problem reading them and determining that and finding problems and reporting them, or not finding problems, but is satisfactory with the prints, we get them back in 2 days. What happens is the FBI's computer then posts them to a website and sends us a message that we have the criminal background check. Then we download it, evaluate it, make sure, and then we simply report it as cleared or not cleared. If it's not cleared, at that point, it goes to investigations, first through Miss Wilton, to think, oh, well, they're 36 years old, they just got out of school, they want to do this, and when they were 17, they got a DWI. Miss Wilton's going to say, we don't worry about that. But if they have some really significant criminal background issues, it might end up in investigation. So we have 2 steps to that. And that is taking, very little time if there's not a problem. And if it's a minor problem, hardly any time. And it's the ones that end up in formal investigations because either A, they said they never were arrested and they were, or B, they have things arrest like, theft or grand theft auto, or, attempted murder, that kind of stuff. And we do investigate those pretty much. So that takes some time.
All right. Sounds good. It seems like we had some questions about the website. The website being the online application process last time. Did any of the members have a question about what's going on the website application right now?
Yes, this is Nadlin. I have some of my students have actually started the application process. So when will the uploading of the documents come into effect?
Okay, here's what's happening. We are in the process of upgrading our entire database management system through our contractor. And there are thousands of relationships that are being checked automatically. And it looks like they'll be finishing that probably in the next 5 days. They promised us it'd be finished for the end of March. And I was talking to our IT director this morning, and he said probably in the next 5 days, they'll finish the process. At that point, we will then start designing these new applications with the upload in them, okay? So in effect, they're not active now. First, we will do all of our physician and surgeon, since that's our largest group, and we'll take a lot of load off of our licensing people because they don't have to chase down documents. The next largest group is our clinical lab, and you will be second. We will design that, operationalize it, and we will let everybody know in the group that from then on, any new application that started has to be done there. Obviously, if they've already started an application, they'll finish it in the old way, and we'll take care of it. But if they have not started an application, once we put it live, it'll have to be done, and we will send it to all of our licensees. And we know that our teachers, our school educators are all licensed anyway, so they'll get the email and they can disseminate the information.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions related to website?
Yes, the website has been updated, so the temp license is off now. I just still, I'm distracted. I know I had a couple people come in. So the current documents that require a notary, they're going to be okay not to be notarized when you upload a PDF?
That's correct. We've instructed the people not even to require a notarized document anymore right now, because ultimately they will be signing that they, under pain of potential discipline or loss of license, they verify that it's there. And, you know, we've had a lot of research done by Ms. Wilton and our legal staff, and we feel this is an efficient, cost-effective way to do it. And it gives us the protection if we find somebody that is not doing it right or is giving us bad information, they're subject to losing their license.
All right, anybody else?
I have a recommendation. I ran into is it okay if I bring this up right now? It is dealing with the website.
Yes.
Or LawMed dashboard where we're talking about it. I was sitting with a student this week that had applied for her new license. I think there needs to be better verbiage when they're doing LawMed dashboard that describes they cannot, that they cannot have a break in employment or education history that's not attested. It is not clear on there, and that is one of the big deficiencies we get for our students. So they apply. And for instance, let me just use a prime example. When they graduate high school, they graduate in May, sometime in May. They usually don't start college until August. So they almost always have a break from May to August. And that is one of the deficiencies that they get, that they didn't account for any type of practice. They call it practice or non-professional activity. So they're confused, like, what is practice? What is non-professional activity? What exactly are we wanting them to do in that verbiage? I think it needs to be explained better. Now, I know after I've done this for many years, there can't be anywhere where they're just not listing what they're doing. So I'm having to tell students to go in and put in unemployed during those 3 months, but that's not spelled out for them.
All right, we would like, if it's okay with you, since we're going to be starting this process and with the front load, probably your group will be sometime in June. Okay. If it's okay, we'll change that language in the June new application process. I don't think it's beneficial to change it now unless you want us to. I'm just asking, it would be okay if we just did it when we did the whole upgrade to the front load new system.
Yeah, that's fine. I just
okay.
think, and can I ask why, is there a reason why you must know what they were doing at all times? Is it for their background check?
Well, it's a combination of things. For example, if we have gaps in training, we need to know why. Were they put out of a program? Obviously, the thing from finish school in May and start in August is not a critical it's reasonable to say unemployed. But we sometimes have people who start training program, get put out, stay out for a year, and then come back in, and we need to know what happened. So that's the kind of stuff we were asking about.
Okay, so that's one example. Almost all of them get a deficiency. Now I've tried to correct that. The other one is they graduate in May. So they're graduating on May 9th. They don't get their certification until probably the middle of June or first week of June if they pass the certification exam. Then it goes to licensure. So they're not getting a license until middle of June. So they have another deficiency because they have a gap in what they're doing from May to June.
Well, we can look at that in terms of that being a reasonable gap that we can tell our licensing analysts that's not an issue problem, okay? But if you would do me a favor and send me a separate email, as I'm driving today, so I can't take notes. But if you would send me a little email about those two issues, I will work with licensing to address one of them. And the other, I think we're going to be able to address in the new system so that they get the language explanation in a more clear and fundamental way. And what perhaps we will do is even run the language by you before we finalize the application processing.
Okay, thank you.
But do send that to me. I apologize. I'm driving today. I don't have the ability to take notes.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else have a question or a comment regarding the website? I would like to be able to, whenever I've had a new applicant have questions about the website, you can't go on and click through and see what the website's doing unless you're a real person trying to apply.
That's right.
It would be very handy for us knowing our language and knowing, knowing how it works. What are you looking for? To be able to have a practice human, a practice applicant, to be able to go through licensure and click every button and look at every page. I think that would be real handy.
Well, what we can do is when we finalize this change, we can print out for all of you all of the steps and all of the subroutines, and then you can review them as a committee if you like.
Well, that would be helpful, but sometimes it's just how logical the flow is and clicking.
Well, you'll be able to look at the logic, and you'll be able to say, maybe you should move this somewhere else and do it differently. That's what we'll be asking you to look at.
Okay.
That's good.
One of the reasons, so you'll know, one of the reasons we are spending the time it takes to do this major upgrade to the database system is it gives us more flexibility to change and adapt to situations that change in the licensing parameter, in the education parameter, in the legislative parameter. So we can make these things work faster for everybody. But this is such a major update, and we're going to be able to do a lot more in-house than have to depend upon the developers out in Nevada. And that's what we're trying to do. And so they've been working with us to do that. And that's why it's taken a little bit. We sort of put a lot of stuff in the back burner until this upgrade is done. And I appreciate your patience and understanding. But I think we as an agency will be able to respond better to changes that need to be made because of either legal law changes, educational changes, changes in, certain, for example, we're just having to go to the legislature right now. One of our licensing classes, their certification agency changed its name. So ultimately, when we finish that, we're gonna have to change the certification name in the licensing application. But all of these things are going to be able to be done much faster, more efficiently in-house. Tracy will be more of them, and that's what we need to have it done in-house.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. The next topic on our, I'm sorry.
Can I say one more thing? I just thought of another thing while I have you guys on here. I'm having last year I could click through several screens and find the Drug Screen Privacy Act document that we must send in. So that's another one of the deficiencies. I cannot find that for the life of me right now on the website. The only way I can get it is Googling LSBME Privacy Act document. Can you guys check on that and see where that link has went and maybe make it better, easier to access? Because that is one of their deficiencies. They don't fill that document out and it's not listed as one of the documents they must send in by the background check. I think it needs to be linked by the background check.
Ms. Tracy will look into that and she and I will make a decision on how to do it and we'll report to how we handled it at the next meeting.
Yes,
All right.
sir.
All right, moving on. The next topic is how complaints are handled.
Okay, so let me tell you how complaints are handled. The first thing, the complaint is accepted by intake. It's determined if the complaint is medical or if the complaint is something else. For example, it could be financial, billing fraud, that kind of thing. So we triage immediately there. At that point, an investigator is assigned. Preliminary investigation should take 90 days or less, during which time there is nothing formal going on. The applicant does not have to even report that to work. We don't require that anybody know about that. And it can be closed as a matter of course, based upon the facts that are reviewed by the director of investigations that were collected by the investigator. And if the director of investigation says, I want more data, they get it. A lot of times it's the biggest delay is two things. Number one, they don't send it back to us, what we ask for. Or number two, the lawyer gets involved and said, we want extensions. And we've been very strict about extensions. So we're trying to keep that preliminary at under 90 days. I can tell you a year and a half ago, preliminary investigations had an average length of time of 584 days. And I can tell you as of right now, our average length of time for a preliminary investigation open is under 90 days. So we are making progress in that regard. If there is a problem and the preliminary review exists in the law to determine if a formal investigation needs to take place. So number one, it can be closed with no other further action, or they have to say, well, we need to convert this to a formal investigation, at which time they are beginning the formal investigative process. The investigative, I should say, the affected practitioner is notified that they're now in formal investigation and what they have to do to comply. At that point, most all of them usually end up with lawyers, but some of them don't. And we tell them what their rights are and what they can do and what they can't do in terms of this. At some point at the end, we asked that by law, those are supposed to be completed within 24 months. And we only had, the last time I looked at the data was last month, we only had 4 that were going over 24 months, but we were trying to trim all of those down. And most of those were because the lawyer had not been able to settle with the investigative department about why or what's in the consent order. If we get a consent order, if we send a letter of reprimand, all of those things are negotiated with and signed off by the applicant and their attorney. And at that point, it becomes the purview of the board to approve, reject. And if the board rejects it, then we generally end up going to a hearing. If the board approves it, it's signed, it's sealed, it's finished, and the public notice is then placed on the webpage. If, however, in the middle of that investigation, they determine that there's no further need to go on, information has arisen that the complaint was not valid or the complaint did not appear to have validity, then they can close that investigation. And once they open a formal investigation, however, the board has to approve, the board approves their closure, and they just like the board approves the closure of an investigation in a preliminary. Ultimately, the board approves all closures. It approves all final actions. So the board knows exactly what's all going on. We look at many cases in the executive session, every meeting, to determine, are they approving these closures? They know. Somebody will say, well, I don't want to close this one. I think we should have more requirement. And then it goes back to the process. But then once their final action is published, they have, depending upon what the requirements of the consent order, they have to fulfill those to become to complete that requirement. It may be more training, it may be a fine, it may be treatment, whatever it might be, depending upon the uniqueness of the case. And then once they complete that, then they usually get off of probation unless they have a time-sensitive probationary period. But we monitor the probationary periods and we report back to the board on what's going on in the probationary periods during that time. And Patricia, did I forget anything?
You're mute.
Hello?
Sorry, I was muted. No, you didn't forget
Okay.
anything.
All right.
Item removed.
Okay, I'd like to make a comment on that. And I think that if the complaint has to do with something that that person did not follow protocol in the lab, reported a wrong result for some reason,
If it's related
whatever.
to professional performance.
If it's related to professional performance, I think the investigators should include the committee in those cases, because I don't think the investigators know what's a really bad thing to do in the lab or what's not. And I'm not blaming them for that. I'm just saying that we have the resource. We know we have people that can look at whatever they've done and determine whether or not it's a serious problem or not. And right now, we don't get to do that.
Well,
So
I
we
think
got-
there are valid reasons we need to consider before we implement that. A, if it's something that's going to be closed, are you willing to have a special meeting to do it? Can we get a quorum and get it done? Because we are trying to expedite these things in such a way that there is no adverse outcomes because of an investigation that was closed. Okay. Now, again, the issue is, if you don't, we have an MD, director of investigations, okay? And he's a highly skilled, highly trained physician, okay? And the investigators do not close. The investigators ultimately present their work to him, and he decides if they need more information or they need to go find something and do something else. The investigators simply collect the material at the direction of the director of investigations. Ultimately, the DOI makes the recommendation of what to do, and the board either accepts that recommendation or not. But you want to add an extra step into it, that's fine with us. I think you need to give me a motion. I'll bring it to the board, and the board can talk about it. I think, we can talk about it with investigations. I think the first thing I would do, Patsy, is if you really want to go there, why don't you and I and Dr. Francis sit down and talk about it and look at the implications. Look at the implications, because let's say tomorrow he's ready to close 4 cases in the lab.
Yeah.
I got to convene another meeting in a month. No, that's not fair to the licensee. Okay. I want to do this. Am I going to call you back into session? I think, you have to think about the reality of what we do and how it affects lives. And that's why I have been once I have been given the authority, I have been so much involved in looking at the time frames to do everything. I'll be very candid.
Dr. Van,
Yeah.
our world is so different than anybody else. I work with the very best doctors in the world, no doubt. And when they have a lab question, they come to me. If I tell them something's not going to be, that I'm not releasing it because QC has to be redone, they do not question me.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
If we have a lab neglect or fraud or distrust issue, that needs to
That's what
come
I'm
to
talking
us.
about.
That needs to come to us, not a physician. They don't understand that it's an integrity issue that we're worried about.
Which is
So
patient protection.
Or Miss Patsy. But it
Yeah.
needs to It is someone with the lab knowledge that knows that that's something that we don't hold lightly.
Well, it's
Okay, well,
even,
and
and
again, I want to be very clear with you all.
but look, Dr.
I
Van,
think
it's even, you know,
some
the
of this
law
discussion,
specifies things that if a tech does, they will lose their license.
And
I
that's
mean,
the
it even
again,
itemizes some out.
and that's
may,
why
may, I,
that's why we have
may I
license.
make a comment? I understand the case you are talking about, number one. Number two, I hope that none of you had any meetings to discuss this, because that would be a violation of that person's rights. Number three, if you want to discuss the issues relative to that case, we need to do that in executive session. Okay.
This is not case related. I've
All
been
right.
on the board 8 years. I've never, to my knowledge, been presented any case that had anything to do with the person's professional performance. And I can't, you know, it just seems odd that.
Remember, an accusation is not a fact.
And we would be your best bet to clear it as yay or nay.
Well, again, I think our investigative department has also resources that can do that. And I'm happy to set up a protocol, if y'all want, where we'll run it by, once the Department of Investigations wants to close a case, Ms. Patsy will have to review them timely. And if she concurs, we close it and don't worry about it. If she does not concur, then you will have to convene to deal with it.
So I'd like to make a motion.
Well, wait. We need to give this a little more thought, because there has to be a separation between the board and the investigations recommendation. Investigations has to do its job, and then to the extent it needs to confer with you, it can bring things to you for your recommendation, then ultimately, or your input, and then ultimately they recommend to the board. When you insert yourself in at the beginning of a process, you essentially taint your ability to be of any service going forward, because you have participated in the investigation. So I'm not opposed to you all being a resource or so. I mean, we need, before somebody makes a motion about it, let's let us give this a little bit more thought about how it would actually play out and what the ultimate implications of it would be. And then we'll bring it back to you with a recommendation for how a workable, and if that means, well, we would recuse one member of the advisory committee from anything relating going forward. I don't know. We just have to think about it. But we can't have too much.
Understand.
Okay, good.
So let Patsy and Dr. Francis and I and Ms. Wilton get together and look at a system that we can present to you. I was giving you an example of a system, and I think the key is let's get Patsy's input, Ms. Wilton's input, Dr. Francis's input, and we'll make a decision on a system that you then will approve. But by the same token, it protects the rights of the licensee, because the key here is that we get terrible accusations about all kinds of things, but when we look into the facts, they become hollow accusations because of the way it was handled, or we find out how it was handled, whether it's a doctor, so again, we're not talking about necessarily, we may have, for example, we've had cases where a doctor was accused of sexually abusing a patient. No doubt that's a serious matter. But when we went to put the facts together, A, the doctor was never treating the patient. B, the patient was never seen by that doctor, okay? And there was never any professional relationship between the two. So come to find out, after we said we closed it, the patient said, oh, I gave you the wrong name, okay? So we have to deal with those things internally. I'm not saying anything about the individual case that you're concerned about, but I do think our investigations department is skilled in determining the issue between a terrible accusation and real provable facts. Because ultimately, if we cannot prove it, okay, we can't discipline because of it. So all of these things, whether it's an accusation of improper reporting, falsifying data, whatever it might be, there has to be bona fide proof. And that's something that the investigators do get whenever they can. And if they don't get it, we can't, the board is never going to approve any action anyway.
All right. Anybody else have a question or a comment? All right. Next is our investigations in executive session. Do we need to get a
We would need a motion to go out of public session.
Yes, sir.
And but I would ask for any public comment right now and let Tracy tell us, or Jacinta, because I can't tell you, I'm on my car. Make sure there's no public comment that needs to be addressed, and make sure that our guest understands that we will now excuse her. If she has some public comment she wants to make before we excuse her, that's an appropriate time to take it. Otherwise, once we go into executive session, it'll only be members of the staff and the advisory committee.
So Dr. Van, it didn't come in through public comment, but it did come in through LSBME. So they were asking about the minutes for the last meetings of the CLP committee. So I did notify them that the committee was meeting right now, and they just approved October and
The
December.
minutes,
Yes.
and we
and
will
that-
publish, and then they'll be published on the website within 96 hours.
And yeah, all of those have been sent to Tracy. I went ahead and pulled the ones from the May and August meetings, so I sent those to her as well. But I did let them know
Okay.
that all of the meetings are live streamed and those are stored on our website.
Right.
There is
Okay.
another question that came into LSBME. It's regarding agenda item number 3. They said, it says, can you describe what is in the bill discussed in the agenda item number 3? I believe I forwarded this to you, Patricia.
Yeah, I saw it and I was
She's
waiting.
asking again.
Okay, well, for the purposes of that individual, assuming she's still watching, there is going to be, it's our understanding, proposed legislation based on the work of this advisory committee and approved by the board that proposes changes to the CLP law, mostly cleanup, mostly just the removing obsolete terminology, et cetera, But as soon as it's actually filed, it'll be available through the legislature's website, or that person can make another request to us and we'll send a copy of it. But until it's actually filed, we don't really have dominion over it. It's not something that we have. Or that person can give me a call or email me and I'll have a more fulsome conversation about it. But fingers crossed, by the time tomorrow, there'll be something filed that we can send a copy of or point to where it can be retrieved from the legislature's own website.
Okay.
Can y'all send us that copy too, once it's filed?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Great. All right, if there's no further comments at this time, we will entertain a motion and second to go into executive session.
I make a motion to move into executive session.
I'll second it,
So
Michelle.
Jessica and Michelle. All those in favor of going into executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're ready.
All right, you should see the join button. Dr. Van, you can try to join. I don't know if it's going to work on your phone.
It didn't let me. I'll try. I'm gonna go out and come back in. How's that?
Okay.
Okay, I see Tracy's face, but I don't know where I am.
you are in the regular session. I don't think you could join the executive session on your phone, but I did want to talk to you about that issue they brought up with the Privacy Act documents. Can you hear me, Dr. Van? No. Oh, wait a minute. Dr. Van?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're in the regular session. I don't think you can join.
okay. Just ask Ms.
Um,
Wilton to run that portion of the meeting and tell me about it tomorrow.
I want to tell you about the issue they were asking about the Privacy Act documents.
Yeah.
That is actually listed on the background check page. And Aloma had us remove the background check page from the website, just like the accessibility of it. So the page is still public. That's why she can search for the documents and find them. Because they don't want them doing the background check information until they submit a license. Once they submit their application for a license,
Okay.
then they get
I
an
will talk
email
with.
with.
All right. Let's you and
Okay.
I and Aloma talk about this sometime next week when I got free time. Okay.
Okay, no problem.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll
You're
solve
welcome.
that problem together. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
I'll tell you goodbye. Tell Miss Wilton you can't get me in because I'm on the phone, and I'll call y'all. She can tell me about it tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you much.
You're welcome.
I forget. Do we have to vote to leave executive session? We had a motion to leave and everybody clicked.
Maybe.
We'll call that approval by acclamation. No
Okay,
dissent.
what is it called when they lay their arm out for you to draw their blood? Implied consent.
Yeah, yeah,
All right, by implied consent, we have left executive session.
okay.
We did all
Alrighty.
click okay. Go back.
We did click okay. Yes. we did.
Okay, that's true.
All righty. We had 3 cases. The first case, number 2026-146. Do I have a motion or in second regarding this case? Where'd Angela go? You're muted now.
I don't know where she is.
Michelle, I'll move for Angela that we follow the recommendation of the investigator.
I'm sorry, I'm here. I know I was supposed to do it. I realized I was still muted. In that case, the ending in 4-6, I recommend that we follow the recommendations of the director investigator and grant her a license.
All righty. Do I have a second?
I'm Belinda, second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. The next case is 2026-147. Do I have a motion in second?
I move to grant 2026-147 a laboratory assistant license.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Who was the second?
Nadlin.
Okay, thank you.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next is 2026-145. Do I get a motion in second?
This is Tabitha. I motion to follow the DOI recommendations to grant a license for case number 2026-145.
All right. And second?
It's Belinda, second.
Thank you. All those in favor of this motion say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All righty. I think that sums up everything that was on our agenda.
Can I ask a question? And I may be out of line asking.
I'm
Is-
good.
Is there a reason why on the investigations that we have even names? Do we have to have names? Couldn't you have pertinent information and not have the names?
In the past, though, if you knew who it was, you had to
Yeah.
yourself.
But if we don't know who it is, then what would be the purpose of reclusing yourself?
Well,
Wilton, your
I guess
thought?
it depends on the details of the case. If the details of the case were such that one could figure out.
Unfortunately, you have to know if you should recuse yourself from considering a case or not. And also it's difficult to, I don't know, it just makes more work to redact documents that for investigations. And no other committee nor does the board in executive session look at documents that have the individual's name redacted out, because it is necessary for you. It's not enough for you to say, well, I didn't even know who it was when I voted on it, because in fact you did vote on a case that you had a impermissible conflict with the individual.
Okay.
Well, I want to thank all of you all. Appreciate all of the work that
You muted your.
I think can I speak now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I want to thank all the hard work you did today. I appreciate all your comments. We're going to try and address those concerns. Most of them will be done as we evolve our systems. But again, thank you for the things. I'm looking for that email to make sure we address those concerns in our system change. And we will meet, I will set up a meeting probably next Friday, if you're available. And Dr. Francis is available, we'll get it done next Friday, if that's okay.
All right, do
All
we
right.
have a, all right, do we have a date set for our next meeting?
We actually probably do. It should be listed on the website.
I don't think we set up for the whole year.
Okay, well
It
then
is not listed on the website.
Yeah,
okay,
I
let's
don't think
do-
we
Let's
did.
do one. Yeah.
Does anyone have a recommendation for a next date? I'm looking at June 24th. It's a Wednesday.
While y'all are thinking about that, I just wanted to let you know all the minutes have been updated on our website.
I would like to ask if maybe we can move the next meeting to a Tuesday possibly.
Okay.
I am going to have to move to nights and I don't know for how long, and I will be working every Wednesday and Thursday night.
Oh, bless your heart.
It's okay. But
Yep.
it's I might be in like a trying to sleep, and I don't, if y'all need a quorum, you know, and I'm available, you know.
Well, how
Yeah.
about the 23rd of June? That's a Tuesday.
That's perfect.
That's
It's just
fine.
I will be on nights every single Wednesday, Thursday, and I don't know for how long.
Okay.
All right, well-
3 o'clock. We need all our meetings not earlier than 3 o'clock, right?
Right.
Ladies, yes. I want to thank everybody too, because y'all are, this group is so good and I have absolutely no problem getting quorums. We hadn't had to not have a meeting in, I don't know when, and that used to happen all the time. So I personally appreciate all of your good work. Thank you.
All righty. Do I have a motion for us to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Is that
I'll
Jessica?
second Tabitha.
Jessica and Tabitha, all those in favor, click the exit button and we may leave.
Aye.
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 Bye.
Thank y'all.
Y'all have a good one.
Thank you.